Hello, I'm Ashen. This is the second attempt over this video because the first one got botched. The electricity fell. So I'm trying to do this again. And today I've prepared for you two stories from my childhood, as I got the best training of witchcraft that my grandmother from my mother's side could provide. Now, I was very much out with my witchcraft to my family ever since I was a child. I was very much interested in it. I very much wanted to learn from it, but Israel haven't not yet developed up to the point where such information was readily available. The internet didn't exist yet. I'm talking about something that happened 20-something years ago, or at least it didn't exist in Israel, or at least if it existed in Israel, people of low means could not have afforded it yet. So anyway, those two stories are ones that I heard from my grandmother's friends. Now, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, this is she, by the way. Imagine her with red hair and green eyes, and she made her own dress because people would make their own dresses those days. It's very Edwardian chic now that I'm thinking about it. It was taken during the time of the British, anyway, where everything was in like Israeli pounds. Anyway, so she used to have friends that she was sent from Betrothal Night, that's social security, and in Israel the elderly get some support from social security. They're being sent to help and getting help from other people around them. And she took me, as I was starting my junior high, I started reading the tarot cards. I was starting reading the tarot cards and learning how to do divination. And she would sit with those elderly women mostly, and she would tell them about this, and they were very interested in getting a reading. So she would basically come pick me up in her car and would take me to perform divination for these women. And some of them tipped me, and even tipped me very well. And it was an interesting time. Now, those two stories that I'm about to tell you are stories that I were told by elderly women 20 years ago. It's quite possibly that those women are no longer alive. It happened in my neighborhood. And you have to realize that those women were Moroccan, so like any French-influenced culture, it was very important to present a house in a certain manner. So you would go and see mock Baroque and Rococo furniture, even if you didn't have food in your refrigerator for weeks because you had to pay higher purchase for them, like in installments. So that's part of the story of what happened to those women back then. I was sitting in one of those Rococo living rooms with painted ceilings and Gobelin tapestries. And as they learned about the fact that I have a contact with the invisible world, they wanted to share their experience with them. And funnily enough, those two stories that was told to me in one night were very much about the value of silence. So let me tell you them. The first woman told me that as she was young in Morocco, she used to be able to walk home, and every day she would find beneath one of her favorite rocks a high-value coin. She told me how that coin is called in Morocco those days. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a high-value coin. And she would get with that coin ribbons to stitch to her outfits, and candy, and the books, and notebooks, and covering paper to cover her books, and many things like that. And her mother started like, "You're in school, how are you even making money?" They were dirt poor. And she was worried that she was whoring herself, and she kept pestering her daughter to tell her how she's getting the money. And eventually the daughter told her that she's getting it from underneath this rock. So his mother was like, "Okay, it's weird, but it's not whoring, and probably some demon is giving you this money, because there are demons here in Morocco." Because they believe, and still do believe, that the only place that is free of demons is Israel. This is, of course, incorrect. There are many demons in Israel, but to each their own, I suppose. So she got the next day after she told her mother, she went to search beneath the rock, and there were and she found her coin, her daily coin, but the coin disintegrated in her hand. And she understood that she broke basically the one thing that she should not have broken, the silence around this magic. So her contact with the invisible world that rewarded her, thus basically disappeared. So that was one of the stories. And the other story that I was told, and remember, I was 14 at the time, but for those women, apparently I wasn't 14, I was occult, so I was ageless even back then. She told me that the night, her betrothal night, when she got married, couple times a week, after she went to sleep, a couple of black men would appear in the room and would take her away from her body and would do things with her. And I asked, what things? And she was like, what things do you think they did with me? And everybody laughed. And it's like, it was obviously sexual intercourse. And she had sex with them. It was amazing. It was forceful somewhat, but it was amazing and fun. And eventually, she became scared because those invisible black men that only comes to her after she sleeps, she didn't know what they were, so she told that about her father, and she told that to her husband, not her father, and they never came again, those two men, and she was sexually displeased her entire time married to her husband. So those are two stories that I was told, being basically between 12 and 14, about the nature of the invisible world by those two Moroccan elderly women. I would like to know, have you encountered similar stories? Does those stories ring a bell? What do you think about them? I would really like to know. What do you think about them? About this such embracing and such a realistic touch with the invisible world through material gains such as money and through sexual feelings and things of that nature. Okay, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Goodbye and share.